Alec and Marisa, I mean, how much are you viewing them as a will they, won't they couple? How much do you feel like they need space in to begin with to kind of get to know who they are without each other? And what can you share about that relationship dynamic?
I just love the idea of, we've seen a lot of will they, won't they, of, like where they have a meet cute in the pilot, and will they, won't they, the kind of castle format. And I wanted to spin it a little bit on a couple who already did, and, been there, done that. And they're, and they're divorced and they're both trying to move on, but they can't quite stay away from each other. And so I think it's just sort of a new way into the will they or won't they. And I do want to keep that alive. I think the audience, will be rooting for them, but we want to, give them some challenges, and we want to let them both kind of explore other options, before maybe, coming back to each other, because I believe that something was broken that caused the divorce. Like if this couple was so great, if everything was perfect, they wouldn't have gotten divorced in the first place, right? So they kind of have to realize where they went wrong in order to find their way perhaps back to each other.
Well, and on that note, obviously, given Alex's specialty, in some ways, it feels like he has a cheat code to relationships because he can maybe know when she's not telling the truth, he can know when she's hiding things, etc. But at the same time, it also makes sense why these two people may have drifted apart. What is the balance like in making it feasible why they're not together, but at the same time, not making it frustrating?
It can be a little frustrating, and that's okay. I mean, I, I love a good romance, and like you can't just hand the audience everything they want, like, because they won't, it'll get boring real soon. So I want to keep things interesting between them, but I do think I think that their relationship really grounds the show in a lot of ways, because I want it to feel very real and relatable. And like, I want to, to see this couple as two people who, split up because because they're so passionate about their work, they kind of let their work, like, take the better parts of themselves, and they didn't nurture that relationship. They didn't nurture it. And when you don't nurture things, they die, right? And so they kind of need to realize that, it wasn't necessarily that they weren't compatible. It's not necessarily that they're not meant to be together, but they didn't nurture that. And I think if they are to get back together in the long run, which I think viewers are going to root for, and that is totally okay. And I want them to, because I want you to invest in this couple. And, I think that, but they do have to do a certain amount of character growth and kind of see and understand where they went wrong if they are to make another go at it.
Well, as you alluded to, there is someone new in, well, newish in Marissa's life. Can you kind of tease a little bit how that changes their dynamic going forward as they kind of navigate who they are when she's entangled with someone else?
Well, I think it's going to force Alec to deal with it in a way that he hasn't quite. Like, I think Alec has approached this divorce, as he always does, from this very heady, cerebral, like, Marissa's going to realize that obviously, like, that was a terrible mistake. And, and this is just temporary. It's why he's living in his, sister's guest room, because this is just a temporary situation until, she comes to her senses and we get back together. And I think the reality of her dating someone else kind of makes him have to realize, okay, like, she's serious about this, and maybe I need to take this a little more seriously, instead of kind of minimizing, what went wrong, taking it a little more seriously, and, trying to really acknowledge, what happened there, maybe explore for himself, what might be my other options now. And so if he is to come back to that relationship, he will come back to it differently and not the same person he was when she left.